Well, hello everyone. My name is Dr. Stock and this video is for entertainment purposes only. Today, I'm not glistening right now because I'm sweating the CPI data that's coming out. I do have my water here with me. The heat is really pouring into my house right now because the AC is broken, but hey, we do the best we can with what we have. So here I sit in the office with a bunch of computers that are putting out heat. I got sun shining through the windows and absolutely no air circulation because I'm trying to give you high quality audio. So we will move on from there. We got CPI data coming out tomorrow. Honestly, I think that it's possible that we do see it level off a little bit or maybe even drop down a little bit. However, I think it's going to mess with us in the pre-market, so that's something to be aware of when we watch the trading day open. Now, mind you, 8:30 a.m. hits, and if we get that surprise, if we see something up above 5.4, you know, we might get a little bit of Chicken Little, the sky is falling, and then the question that comes in, are we seeing this higher inflation? Are we going to keep seeing higher inflation? How long is it going to continue? Because honestly, money that we have now is just, it's worth more than money that we have to wait on, and that really affects things like our growth stocks. So what in the world do we do about it? And also, I want to mention a few stocks in this video as well, one that I've talked about before. I think they're going to present us with some pretty incredible opportunities, possibly even in those pre-market hours tomorrow. So stick around and let's get ready to rock. Speaking of rocking, I happened to see my daughter left this rock, and that is, there we go, maybe bring it back this way. It is a kitty cat head that's on it, and it says, "Meow, love you, I'm not kitten," on the other side. So, I don't know, maybe she's trying to tell you guys, maybe she's trying to tell me by leaving it on the desk. I'm not really certain, but let's move on from there. If you guys like these videos, then go ahead, just cover up your eyes and just start smashing all around the screen until you find the like button. It's there somewhere. Also, that subscribe button to see more of my videos and the notification bell to be notified anytime that my videos come out. If you guys want to further your support, watch this video all the way through. Don't forget, down in the description is a link to my Patreon. I have my crypto portfolio I just put out. It's a tiny guy. I put it in during this last dip that we had throughout this summertime, but I think it's a really good time for me to finally make that entry point back into crypto from the days when I used to actually mine script coins up until now, when I was like, you know what, I should probably throw my hat back in the ring here, and I think that's going to be a pretty incredible run that we have in front of us. So let's move on from there. Webull, Moo, if you check down in the description, I also have referral links for those. You can click on them, sign up, deposit your money, get your free stocks, and I get some free stocks as a thank you. So with that said, let's move right on to the stock talk and the stocks that I have for you. So the CPI data. Really, if we're looking at that as a measurement of inflation, do we have inflation? Yes or no? Of course we do right now, but is it something that's going to continue to spike? Is it something that's going to continue to hinder us for the long term? Is it going to return back to that 2% like the Fed was originally saying? Is it going to be something that's going to settle more around 3 or 4%? These are things that we want to know, because when we run our models for the growth stocks that we have, if they're not making money yet, then the money that they're promising to make for us over the next 2, 3, 4 years, if inflation proves not to be transitory, it washes out, it diminishes those gains that they have, which means that it translates into the companies being less valuable companies. And so then they don't trade for as much. And so then what that means in right now terms is that we have the downward pressure on these stock prices. So the pre-market could open up pretty rough, and that will give us a measure of how much people in the markets think that the CPI data is going to come out high and really squish us down. 8:30 hits and we get that data. If we get something under 5%, I think that we're in really good territory. So 4.9, 4.5, 4 point something, I think would be really good for us. If we come in the fives, especially the mid fives, maybe even slightly on the higher side of fives, it's going to be seen pretty much as what we saw before back in August when that came out for July. Now September's coming out for August data, and it's going to compare it to 12 months prior, and so we're going to look for that number, and let's hope that that number comes in below 5.4%. So if it's in the mid fives or in the 5 range somewhere, it could be something that still gives us a little bit of downward pressure, because right now inflation is not dropping, but it's not as bad as the last thing, which is that we would get something 6% or above. If we get numbers like that, that can mean some serious red in things like the NASDAQ and the Russell 2000, and really any companies, because inflation, whenever it comes to those companies that are not yet profitable, it really does diminish their ability to become more valuable companies and eventually become profitable. So these are things that we need to keep in mind when we're doing these different investments that we have if we're long-term investors. So with that said, I'm going to move on to the stocks that I want to show to you, and also the understanding that I have, what I'm moving forward with is that I believe that inflation is something that will diminish. It might take a little bit slow at first. Maybe we're seeing the top of it. Maybe we're not seeing the top of it. The curve that we have has leveled off from June into July, and so now we'll get the data for August. Will it continue to level off, or will it continue to go higher? We're going to have to wait and see tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, for that data to come out. For me, I'm moving forward with that CPI data either being the same or lower. So I'm going to continue to invest as I have. Now, mind you, I do a dollar cost averaging approach, and these are long-term positions for me. So they're not necessarily a day traded or a swing traded thing, even though sometimes I will do those things. By the way, if you stick around to the end, I'll give you a bonus mention. I've had people in the comments asking about a QST and Aquestive Therapeutics, and one of the drugs the FDA is supposed to put a ruling on. I believe it's for seizure medication. I haven't done a lot of reading, but I looked a little bit at its price action and the fact that December 23rd is that date, and I want to talk to you just a little bit about that, and maybe a possible play coming up for that sometime between now and that December the 23rd date. All right, with that said, let's move on to the stocks. All right, so here we are. We're looking at Digital Turbine. Mobile advertising, which is what they're in, on Android phones mostly, although with the Apple ruling, I'm right now looking for clarification if that whole walled garden that they have with their App Store and that 30% that they charge, not really allowing those purchases to go anywhere else other than through the App Store when you purchase through those apps. I wonder if Digital Turbine stands to gain from that. I have a message out to an employee from Digital Turbine. I'm waiting to see if they'll get back to me with some good information if they think that this is an opportunity or if it's something that doesn't necessarily impact their business model. So also, we have to see if Apple actually appeals the ruling. I believe that they're entitled to do so, and seeing if they can get it overturned, that they can reinstate that 30% fee that they've been imposing. That has translated very well to Apple's bottom line. So moving on from there, Digital Turbine, like we're looking at right now, it's currently sitting on the 50-period moving average. Like we have a nice little flat candle right here, pretty much opened where it closed, and it's sitting right around $60 per share. And well, what's the price target? The analyst price target on this right now is about $107. And if you look at the street, they say that the fair value for this is more like $160. And if you watched my video on it before, I said I didn't really see $160. Honestly, I like to do it conservatively, and I like to go for modest gains from where we're at, because if I go for astronomical, it could be something that's too much of a moonshot, and I don't want to take on that sort of risk because I'm a little bit risk averse in that way. So for me, over the next 12 months from where we're at right now, I could easily see this being something that puts us around that $80 mark, which would be a very modest 33% gain from where we're at. But if you look at the analyst estimates, it's much higher than that, because they're saying it's more like a 60 to 70% gain from the current prices that we're seeing. So I want to keep that in mind. Now, they are a company that is profitable, so they are currently making money, and we have digital advertising in the mobile platform space, and I believe they're also into smart TVs as well, and Samsung's single tap technology that they have is one of the acquisitions that they moved into, and I think that they have a lot going for them, and I think that they're going to continue to show very, very good growth over the next few years, just as the growth that they have shown. So when we zoom out more to look at the price action that we've seen, oh, I'm on the weekly chart, my goodness. I apologize. Let's go to the daily chart here. Not that I like the weekly, especially being a long-term investor. I just want to see a little bit more of the detail that we've had recently, a little bit more of the price action. So $60 per share is actually one of those prices that we keep sort of coming back to. We've spent quite a bit of time above it until we finally caught on to that sell-off, and then we had a little bit of FUD taking place with it, and then you can see the volume spikes that we got back in as it got added to the S&P mid-cap 400. So with that inclusion, it brought these prices in between the moving averages. It hasn't been able to move out of it. So we have a little bit of range play, and it's sort of towards the bottom of that range right now, and I think over the next 12 months, this is one that's going to give us those returns, and it has returned very well recently over the past, let me see, put the cursor back here, June of 2020, so a year later, going from like $5 or $6 a share. I mean, this thing, it fell about $17.50 short of 20xing from that price. And it took people a lot of time to wake up and realize the potential of this company. So it's not the same incredible deal that it was before, but there's still a lot of value in this play. Next, I have for you DraftKings, and check out that sell-off. To me, this created an incredible buying opportunity. Remember, these are for entertainment purposes only. This isn't actually financial advice. I'm not authorized to do that. I'm not licensed to do that, but I can tell you that I did dollar cost average, and I did post that buy alert along with other buy alerts today into my Discord, so that way anybody who's in my Patreon can see anytime I make purchases, so buying or selling in the stock market or in crypto. So if that's something that interests you, again, down in the description, you can check out that link for the Patreon. This is one that I dollar cost averaged a little bit more into, just little itty bitty pieces at a time. I think tomorrow could cause more opportunities and possibly bring us back down to this $56 line, which to me would be another opportunity to dollar cost average. They do have the GNOG acquisition. They have a Simple Bet also on their side, so little micro betting plays that I think are going to keep people spending and keep people tapping, and I think that's going to be incredible for their business model, plus the NFL, which is huge, and collegiate football, which is huge for betting and online sports betting, which DraftKings is in. I think they really stand to capitalize in a big way. They do have some competition with Fox Bet and MGM are out there, Penn National Gaming. So over time, we really want to see if they work out to be the leaders, and I believe that they are in a leading position and that they're going to be one of the dominating forces in the online sports betting arena. So that's why I do invest in DraftKings, and I think that they're going to do incredibly well through the NFL season and through the collegiate football season. So this is one that I'm absolutely watching. All right, and finally, let's take a look at ChargePoint. And when we look at ChargePoint's graph, we can see the significant selling pressure that it's endured, and it's been down to like $19 per share, which even during the fuddiest of times and the largest of sell-offs, that's as low as this price went, and we are currently up at just over $21 per share. So just 10% difference from the worst selling pressure to the selling pressure that we're currently under right now. So for me, I feel like if tomorrow's CPI data is enough to really push this down below $20 per share, to me that's a time that I'm also, even though I have a significant, probably overweight position in ChargePoint already in my portfolio, it's a time that I'm going to use for dollar cost averaging and possibly even just make a short-term trade out of it where I could go to capitalize on what I expect to be a big movement as we move forward and rotate through what we have going on with possible inflation news. So that's the game plan that I have. I think that ChargePoint being the leaders in the charging space for the EV movement, and also end of September we hear more about infrastructure deal. I believe September the 27th might be that date, somewhere around in there. That's something that you might want to fact check. So end of September, we hear more about infrastructure deal. We hear more about how EV chargers tend to benefit from that. And hopefully, ChargePoint is one of the ones that's right in the line of fire that ends up really getting boosted because of money from the infrastructure package being thrown their way in this clean energy movement, and also something that would be built in the United States, which I also know is a huge push by Biden. All right, one more drink and then I'll summarize here. All right, so to summarize, there we go. CPI data. It's the thing to watch. Tomorrow, 8:30, especially after July ran hot, it's time to find out if August ran just as hot, got even hotter, or maybe even cooled off a little. It is possible that we started cooling down a little bit on inflation and that we start seeing that inflect downwards more as we get more of that year-over-year data. And we also want to pay attention to month-over-month. Are things getting worse? Are they actually getting better? What sort of narrative do we actually have? Be careful not to fall for too many headlines that are going to sensationalize any little scrap that they can, that we have some sort of lasting inflation and that the world is going to end because of this inflation, because media is, well, it tends to do that every now and then. So just be careful for those things. So moving on from there, Digital Turbine, I expect them to do very well. DraftKings, same thing. I also expect them to do very well. So there's technology, and then we also have tech in the online sports betting with DraftKings, and then finally ChargePoint with EV charging. Their price right now, I think that it's the most incredible opportunity out of the three that I've mentioned so far. I think they're ones that are going to surprise us time and time again in return of multiples. We just have to wait for that infrastructure to build out and watch how that money gets distributed. And hopefully ChargePoint is that company that stands to benefit in a very large way from that infrastructure package and from the growth in the EV market. All right, so you stuck around to the end, and I said that I would talk about Aquestive Therapeutics, and I know that I've had many people in the comments ask me about it, and I've not read a whole lot about it yet, so I can't really do a feature on it because I'm just not that well versed. People have mentioned about the FDA action date that takes place on December the 23rd, and that I think it's the only orally taken seizure medication. I'm still rusty on the details, so please forgive me for that one. However, right now, there's somewhat of modest price action that we have with Aquestive Therapeutics. It's rocking just under $5 per share, between $4 and $5 per share. If the FDA approval date is as exciting as people think it is, the people in the comments, if that happens to be the case, if we're really going to get some sort of amazing pop that happens, this is sort of a play that I think of moving forward from here. When the January 2022 options become available, if the price is still between like $4 and $5 per share, that it hasn't run up in anticipation of that FDA action date on December the 23rd, by the time these options come out, that $10 call option, in order to buy that $10 call option with not too long a time value so that there's too much time value priced into the stock, but also being very far out of the money, could do us really well if the stock suddenly jumps up in price, puts us near that $10 mark, and that volatility plus putting us closer to being in the money, even if we don't actually reach in the money with something like Aquestive Therapeutics, could be something that significantly spikes the price of that $10 call option on Aquestive Therapeutics. And you want it to be in January because the December one will expire prior to us ever getting to that announcement. So maybe that makes sense, maybe it doesn't. I looked at the financials, and the financials aren't very impressive, and I know that the price targets are out there, and like I said, I'm not very well read. I looked at some numbers, I looked at some news, but if people think it's going to be really exciting and it's going to have huge price action, the direction that I would go for myself, this is my own personal reflection, if I really felt like it was going to move in some big way and it hasn't, then the call options, the $10 call options, should be something that would be very cheap, especially as we get closer to that date. And then what would happen is if the price did jump up because the FDA action was something that was big for Aquestive Therapeutics, then that's something that you could really capitalize on with those. And if it turns out that this is something that I think could actually be viable as those January call options come out for January 2022, that would be something I could see myself making a video on, talking about, hey, you know, you could go this way. You could easily spend something like $100 and then, you know, watch it really go up in multiples, buy options, but then you would also have to watch for liquidity as well, because if the liquidity isn't there, you could be stuck with those options and then you're losing money anyhow. So there's always risk. Options bring in a whole lot of leverage that if you're not prepared for, you really shouldn't mess around with, you know, with buying them and selling them and knowing what your rights are. So maybe take this time, if you're interested in Aquestive Therapeutics but you don't know about options, maybe consider just the stock. Also, always educate yourself. Always, well, I should say, let me say it this way, always keep learning. Okay, especially where the options are concerned, because sometimes you can find really good plays, sometimes you can find really good strategies that are some of the easier money that you can find at the stock market, but understanding the risks allows you to protect your downside and keep yourself out of some really bad situations. All right, so that's what I have to say. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that if you like Aquestive Therapeutics, you like sort of that idea that I've been messing around with, and maybe we'll get a chance for a bigger feature for it moving forward from here. I'm Dr. Stock, and that is true. Check out my Patreon. That link is down in the description. Also, what we have is the Weeble and Moo links that are down there. Like button, subscribe button, notification bell so you can see anytime that my videos come out. I'm Dr. Stock. Thanks for rocking with me. Now go get that money.